music inspires everything that I do. You know, when I get in my car, I have my little soundtrack for where I'm gonna go roll. If I'm in my father's 59 El Camino, I'm gonna put on the Pretenders. I'm gonna put on some Led Zeppelin, and you know what I mean. When I'm in my Lowrider, I'm gonna have the oldies on. When I'm in my Grand National, I'm gonna put on some funk. So I have a different emotion for each different. When I'm in the 1930s car, I'm putting old school doo-wop on.
There you go.
So barbershop doo-wop.
I'm the same exact way. Welcome back to another episode of In the Aisles presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. I'm your host, Derek Bieri from Vice Grip Garage. I have a iconic tattoo, well, let's just say artist with me today, Mr. Cartoon. Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Be involved.
Yeah, good to see you. So, I'm trying to summarize for the viewers who may not be familiar with you, if they're living under a rock and haven't seen what you're doing for 30-some years now, you were saying, we were talking earlier. Do you just call yourself an artist? Is it a tattoo artist? Is it an illustrator? Is it graffiti art? I mean, you got your hands kind of in anything. If it's art, you're doing it.
For sure. You know, I describe myself as an artist, but when I was a youngster, I wanted to be an airbrush artist.
Okay.
You know, I was airbrushing T-shirts at the car shows.
Okay.
If you wanted a portrait of your car or you and your wife's name or your car club, you know, I would have hooked it up on a hoodie for you. My father would run the front, and I was raised in car shows. And as I got a little bit older, I started airbrushing the cars and hanging out in auto body shops. And little by little, I started to get awards for muraling people's cars.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with it. That was it. That's my goal in life. So I became a tattoo artist to be able to afford my cars.
There you go. Okay.
So everything kind of revolves around cars.
That's very cool. We're actually, speaking of cars, we got, you called it the Training Day Monte Carlo sitting out here.
Yeah, this is Motel Hell, my old 78 Monte Carlo. It's owned now by Sam Torres right here in Dallas, Texas. And this is one of my babies. This is one of my canvases right there.
It's beautiful. I'll try to get some B-roll for you guys so you can look at this car. But I mean,
yeah,
it's phenomenal. You can see that thing from space. It's got so much flake in that thing.
It's the big flake, jumbo flake with the lacquer, transparent candies.
Yeah, I remember seeing a lot of cars like that. Well, they're still popular, but Lowrider magazine, things like that.
Yeah.
I've never actually seen the depth of the paint up close until today, and it's unreal. And your airbrush art, we didn't get to look at the firewall, but I saw your work in the trunk. It's incredible.
Thank you.
So when you do these art pieces, like that piece in the trunk, do you have is everything planned out, or you just kind of have a concept, and you just freehand it and let it go? Or is there some kind of guide you're trying to follow as far as what you're trying to end up with?
It's a good question. Each project's different. A lot of times I'll premeditate what I want to do.
Okay.
I try to visualize it finished, complete. What would this car look like pulling into the show? What would catch people's attention? What would bust their eyes out? So once I get an image in my head and I feel the vibe of the car and I talk to the owner, then I would lay out my mural. Sometimes they were in areas where I would just freehand put smoke and hide some female eyes or a teardrop in there. Try to put something real fluid. Other times it's in a graphic. It has to stay within panels. Sometimes it has gold leaf around it or something. So sometimes it has colors. Sometimes it's very tonal, subtle, quiet. So each one's different.
I mean, that already to me is like you're looking at things that I wouldn't even think about. Like you're talking about basically space management, how it needs to flow with the project and everything like that. And you got the frame done up on this and everything. It's just incredible. Do you have a shop that you do this stuff in now?
I do. I have a private studio.
Okay.
I used to have it maybe 10, 15 years ago open to the public,
Okay.
Now it's pretty much private so I can get work done.
Okay.
It's hard to get it going when the fellas drop by or
Sure.
the client will walk in. So.
Yeah. So is it like appointment only kind of?
Yes, but I do have a studio called Master Deluxe. It's a barbershop / tattoo studio.
Okay. All right.
But my automotive is private.
Okay.
But the place, people can go check out is Master Deluxe in Santa Monica.
There you go, Santa Monica. All right. Yeah, I was just curious because it just seems like it would be overwhelming, like you say, if you had all those irons in the fire and all open to the public. I can't even imagine how busy that would be.
So. Exactly. Yeah. You got to assemble a team. I'm up front, but I do have my friends and family behind me that are every day we chip away at the big picture, the big concept. Take each project at a time, and we do have to put different hats on. Sometimes I'll do a tattoo, other times it's automotive, other times it might be fashion.
Okay. All right. So we'll circle back around to cars. I just kind of want to touch, you mentioned tattoo again. I've got a list of people here. It looks like you've done some very famous folks over the years. Can I name a few of these? Is that all right? So I've got Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, Eminem, Justin Timberlake, Snoop Dogg. You've done artwork for all these guys?
Sure. I've done album artwork and their tattoos.
Really? Okay.
Zach Brown, Shia LaBeouf, characters. These are guys that are just like good people, artists, creative people. So when you're able to work with them, it's surreal.
That's very cool. So when these guys come in, do they, I want this piece, this is how I want it to look, or do they just say, hey, open palette, you can do your thing, this is kind of a concept, or how does that work most of the time for that?
It's a good question. They do both. Some guys will come in, they know exactly what they want, they bring reference photos, they know the size, and they got somewhere to go.
Right.
Other guys are there to be there all night. Hey, I want to fill this area, this is a general idea, go for it.
Wow.
Other people come in, they have zero idea. They've been waiting for 6 months, and they have no idea what they want. And I have to pull it out of them. I have to pick their brain and kind of bring them towards something we can both agree on.
That was my next question. You just kind of answered it. I could imagine that's really tough when they're like, well, I want to start a sleeve. Well, what do you want to start with? I don't know. So you got to start asking questions.
Yeah.
Probably what's important in your life. Is there important people or theories or thoughts or, yeah.
You got to pull on what will change. Family, things that don't go out of style.
Right.
I try to lean towards those icons.
Okay. Is there anyone in particular that you've done some tattoo work for that it was just a incredible experience? Is something like maybe it was the artwork itself, or maybe it was the person, but you're like, man, that was an awesome experience and just something really something you would remember.
I mean, I would probably go back to Eminem, loving his music and then being able to tattoo him. You get to hang out with them all day. I went on tour with them one time with 50 Cent, and I tattooed on the tour. So seeing those guys every day, you see their ways, and you see the regular guys that made it. And that's the best part, when you see like basically one of your friends make it.
Right.
So those guys leave an impression on you. It's 50 Cent, you have a conversation with him, you walk away, your mind's turning,
Yeah, I can't imagine how, when I look at artists like that, they're intelligent, they think differently, they're very organized in their thoughts, and
yes.
And but being able to just sit down and chat with them and have a conversation, I'm sure it's just mind-blowing.
It is. You're tripping on them. You're used to just seeing them on TV or on the internet, and their music, the words to their music, so you feel like them.
Right.
But you just got to maintain, try not to say nothing too stupid, fan out or anything.
Right.
But you're blown away. There's no hiding that you're a fan of their music.
Right.
So it's cool to get them done and see them walk away with a piece.
So they were like, load up a toolbox with your stuff you're coming with. We're just going to make it happen going on the road.
Yeah, I
cool.
went to Europe, so that's always
a
trip to go to Europe.
That's cool. So something I've always been curious about, because I have seen, I have a difficult time where I live trying to find airbrush artists, because I have, motorcycles and things like that that I want work done on.
Sure.
Yeah. And I would always, hit a dead end. Then people would be like, you got to hit up tattoo artists, because a lot of them will do airbrush stuff.
Yes, it will.
So is it if you're very good at airbrushing, does it mean you're also going to be good at tattooing, and vice versa, or are they completely different skill sets?
Well, they're completely different skill sets, but they have the same attitude and they have the same imagery, similar imagery. But sometimes I will have to change it so it fits on the fender of a car compared to someone's back. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's always matching the surface you're on. But if I find a good airbrush artist, I'm very confident they're going to be incredible tattoo artists.
Okay.
They already understand blends. And so if you where that hit up, your local tattoo shop over there. Guarantee they're gonna know someone that knows how to airbrush.
Okay. All right. That's good
And
advice.
unfortunately, they don't teach it in a lot of schools. They should, in my opinion, teach it in high school.
Yeah.
Let's get these kids motivated or something. Let's bring back auto body. We'll show them how to do
100%.
upholstery.
Yeah.
How
Any
to
sort of shop class.
detail a car or
Yeah.
put a stereo in. They might be show up early to take those classes.
Right.
But there is a lot of stuff available online for the youngsters out there that are interested in being a pinstriper, or they want to do audio or learn how to detail a car. They can find tutorials and learn online.
That's very good. That's good advice too, because like you say, unfortunately, the ways of learning through your daily education essentially is gone. You have to find different ways to learn. There is no shop class for the most part anymore. Even woodworking or anything, it's gone.
Have wood shop in the classes,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I've got a really good friend that is he does letter art, so pen striping. Yeah.
sign painter.
Yeah, sign painter, yeah. And he's done a lot of my trucks. He's done one of the trucks out here, and he was mentioning to me, and he is phenomenally talented, but he said, I can't pick up an airbrush. I can't do it. To him, there's this, it's like it can't be bridged. It must be too different for him or something.
Well, what it is too, if I hung out with him for a couple of weeks, I'll pick up on some lettering techniques that he'd go, hey, try it this way, man, or make it smoother. Put this little drop of this in your one shot.
Yeah.
Notice it glide better.
Yeah.
Same thing with the airbrush. And if I hung out with him for a couple of weeks, I could say, hey, man, try this, mix your paint this way. It's going to come out smoother and you can just flow easier.
Right.
So it comes down to a lot of artists helping other artists get over a hump sometimes.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. Rub off a little bit,
Yeah,
help with
because
tips and tricks. And
if he can snap script, if he can lay out Old English and pull line, he can airbrush. It's just getting set up. He's got the drawing part down. It's getting your tools sometimes to work for you.
Right.
I'm just assuming that
Yeah.
the troubles that we run into is breaking down the paint.
Yeah.
Can be a real pain sometimes.
That makes sense. So you've done, you used to do some graffiti stuff too. Is this right?
Yeah, as we can see behind me.
Yeah.
A big piece. That's how I started off when I was a kid.
Okay.
It was putting my name up on the wall, and that was the greatest feeling to me. And I just love to scale out a wall and do a piece,
Yeah.
And it showed me how to, paint in front of people, because you do that stuff, you're in the public, so you're painting in front of the crowd. You're troubleshooting, you're learning how to do composition. I didn't even know these words when I was a kid, but as I got older, that's what I was doing.
Right.
I was already kind of doing it in the street, but so I fell in love with graffiti art, and I started to get in trouble when I was around 17 for writing on the walls of my city. They finally caught up to me.
Yeah.
Then they gave me a big ticket. I had to pay a fine. I was under 18, so I didn't get in a lot of trouble, but I had to pay a fine. So I went and painted a mural to get the money to pay for the fine. But that mural was on a movie studio.
Oh, wow.
And I was doing like a crime TV show, and they just wanted the writing on the wall and destroy the wall a little bit, make it look, real.
Yeah.
So I never looked back after that. I started to get a job in the studio. I live in Southern California, so Hollywood is right there.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with the television and film, like working in that industry also.
That's awesome. So this is going to be a tough question. And I don't know if you can even answer it, but if we talking, graffiti art, tattooing, and airbrushing, do you have a favorite? Is there an outlet for you that's like, if I only could do one, what would it be? I'm sure that's tough.
That would be hard, because each tool is for a different surface. So skin is the most difficult because it's never flat. It's always on a concave. It bleeds. It moves.
Yeah.
So that is one of the most hard canvases to work on. Airbrushing is much easier. It's worry about making a mistake too much.
Yeah.
Pencil drawing, sometimes just dope to get a thick piece of paper, smear with your hand. That's probably what I've been doing the longest.
Yeah.
Is just drawing with the pencil on paper. since I was a little kid. So
It's interesting to see, just kind of listening to your story, how everything is kind of led into each other, and it's kind of just a big, starting with graffiti and all this. Now you have your friends and family wrapped up in this. Your dad helped you when you were younger. So let's start talking about cars then. You said you go to car shows, and I've got some of those shirts, Airbrush shirts and stuff like that. So do you have a couple cars yourself? I mean, you sold this one a long time ago, but I'm assuming you got some wheels around.
I do have a couple classic cars, I like all forms. I'm a lowrider by heart,
Yeah.
I also have like a Grand National, an 87 Grand National.
Nice. I got a Grand National too.
Yes. I mean, who doesn't love those? So that hits a little bit different crowd, but still the same crowd.
Right.
I like the 1930s. I have a 39 Master Deluxe.
Very cool. Yeah.
A 48 Fleet Line. So I like those old school ones. I'm building a 58 Impala convertible right now. It's on a rotisserie, the LS3, and that'll be more modern.
Yeah, modern drivetrain.
It looks like classic from the outside. It looks completely stock.
Okay, so not a resto mod, but you're just going to have the drivetrain.
The drivetrain.
Yeah, okay, cool. I've always liked vehicles like that. Like my crew cab out here is the same way. It looks like an old farm truck, but it's brand new engine, transmission, drive shaft, rear end, suspension, electrical, interior, everything. But from the street, looking at it, you just think it's an old classic,
Mm-hmm.
So that's
cool. Definitely the way it's moving.
Yeah.
For a long time we wanted to buy the book original. It needs to be this way, or our lowriders, we broke the rules and put hydraulics and changed it up. Candies and pearls, and some cars are just real simple, clean, look factory. Different ways, but I definitely like the new technology with the disc brakes and how the power steering upgrades to make it a lot smoother when you're out there.
More enjoyable driving. So when you're doing this lowrider, these lowrider builds, are you doing them more for the looks, or do you ever get aggressive enough to do like competitions and jump these things or anything like that? I'm sure you've done a little bit of it all.
Yeah, I mean, most of our cars have hydraulics, so they are out there. I don't get into the hopping contest, which is a world in just itself, you know what I mean? But I do admire it, and it's sick to watch, especially on the streets.
Yeah.
You have these cars 12 o'clocking, hitting the back bumper on the driving down the street. One thing seeing them in a show with the ruler, and they're measuring it.
Right.
But these guys are gas hopping it.
Right.
And it's crazy.
A friend of mine has one that hops pretty good, and 3 wheels, does all that. And he had it up on his lift, and I was looking at it, and I was blown away at the engineering and how these are built, and all the supports and structure and thought that goes into these. And, putting a V6 in to lose some weight up front or whatever else, but pop them up so they're still pretty quick.
So put a lighter motor up front and put weights in the rear. But the hydraulics have come leaps and bounds since the 70s and 80s. The engineering has definitely stepped up. So
it's pretty wild. So when you're building your cars, or the current cars you have today, are you doing anything like this out front, or is it just straight paint? Are you doing any airbrush artwork on it, or?
Yes, I'm not going as wild with the candies right now, with the patterns, but I am doing single color pearls. I am adding murals on the front. I'm doing a 64 Impala right now that is like a charcoal with a violet pearl, very clean, but it has a mural, but all in black and grays, and the black top, black interior.
Okay, so it's kind of subtle, a little subtle.
Yes, but it's still custom. The dash is molded and shaped. But yeah, everything kind of goes in different phases. I have a few cars that have full graphics flake patterned out, and I have other ones that are way more simple and clean.
Okay, so it's a little bit of both worlds now. It's changed a little bit, but there's still some of the old school out there, and
Exactly.
That's very cool. So do you have what's your favorite automobile make? Is it like G-bodies or something like that, or is there a certain brand that you gravitate towards? You've got some Chevys and
Sure.
And
I'm pretty much religious to Chevrolet. I've had a Dodge Brother. 1937 Dodge Brothers before. But I've had a Lincoln, a 62 Lincoln,
Yeah.
Continental. Those are badass. But I'm definitely an Impala man,
Yeah.
you know, and
You like the bubble top or like the 60s or?
exactly. I'm preferably 1958 to 1967
Yeah.
is my sweet spot. But we love the 50s. So 58, 59 is right now our target and
Yeah.
pretty much the hottest on the street.
I've got a 64 that I don't drive enough that I should.
Yeah.
It kind of just sits right now, but I love them. They're beautiful cars. The lines are.
Yeah. Mach, Chevy.
Yeah.
That's what people think about. When they think of a lowrider, they expect to see a 64 Impala
I think so.
parked
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
We love 59s and 58s for the wings and Bel Airs, but the 64 is where people's heads go to.
Have you ever had any artwork pieces you're working on, whether it's, tattooing or airbrushing, where you're like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish this, or I don't know if I'm going to bring what I'm envisioning to life, or maybe this is not what the customer's going to want, or some big task like that. Have you ever been in that situation, or do you try to stay out of that zone?
Well, sometimes you don't plan on getting into that zone. I mirrored Larry Flint's limo from Hustler magazine, back when they had magazines. And that was a challenge because we wanted life-size women on the side with their legs going over the fender wells.
Oh, wow.
And he wanted pretty wild, and only he can get away with driving that car.
Right.
But I ended up painting it, and he
Yeah.
drove it around Beverly Hills, Well, he sat in the back, but he was driven around Beverly Hills.
That is a lot of paint and
Yeah.
everything to scale. And
It wasn't fully the whole car. It was like a pearl white, and it just had the females laying. It was elegant, but it was big women on the side, like life-size women.
yeah.
But I also did a 1963 International ice cream truck,
Okay.
and that is completely muraled. Basically 100% candy murals. There's a wood floor. It's a Viking refrigerator in it. It's got a 65-inch flat screen. It has hydraulics. It's pretty wild.
How long does I'm just thinking in my head, I know exactly what that looks like. That's a lot of canvas. How long does that take to paint?
It took years. Originally, I painted it for a customer. I thought I'd knock it out in 2 months, and it took me around 2 years. And then the guy got divorced from his wife, and the car went missing. I got about 90% finished with it. Car disappeared for about 6 years. I would just tell my friends about it, and they're like, yeah, right, About 6 years into it, someone gave me a call. They had the vehicle,
Really?
and I convinced them, and I bought it back from them.
Wow.
And I finished it. And it sat in the Peterson Museum for about a year in the entrance.
Wow. Do you still have it?
I still have it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to find some pictures of this.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds
it was pretty
incredible.
cool. We just had it in the LA Auto Show
That's very cool, man.
convention, so it was pretty crazy.
So do you have a favorite decade of vehicles? I mean, you've got 30s, you like the late 50s, it sounds like.
Yes.
Is
That's
there?
where the sweet spot is in the 50s right now.
Yeah.
But
Do you like the shoebox cars, the Fords, the Mercurys?
yeah, my
Chevys?
father was on those. My father's had Fords and Mercs, and he had a wide range. And my father could always name every year, even oddball. Oh, there's a Nash Rambler. I would learn about all these offbeat DeSotos and cars that he remembers them chopping them and doing hot rod maneuvers. His era, the hot rods and quadruple were paneled together. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they had some real cool vision. So I learned a lot from him.
Can't put a price on that. Someone like that just probably not even realizing he's teaching you by rattling
Yeah.
off this year, this model, and it's got this option, and you're just absorbing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand how he could know from a glance what year it was. And he started to explain to me, well, son, notice the body lines, notice the grill, the bumpers, the bumper guards.
Yeah.
It started to explain to me all these different characteristics that make the car unique, and that every year was so different back then.
Right.
That's how I started to study. And it's a lifetime study of these different years and what the designers were thinking of when they made those cars.
Yeah, it's I try to do that with my boys too, but I'm thankful because I grew up similar to you, where my dad was doing the same thing. So now I'm more deliberate. I'll say that's a 72 Chevelle. You could tell because of the parking light, or the headlights versus the tail light.
Yeah.
So I explained why, which sounds like your dad was doing as well. Why I knew that. So now they're starting to do it to me. They're like, "Oh, look at that '68 Mustang, or this or that, or the Camaro," and it's like, okay, they're starting to pick up on this,
Yeah, you gotta not take for granted that they know all this information. Like they're little kids, right? You gotta be like, look, son, this is a hubcap.
Yeah.
This is the white wall. This is a transmission.
Yeah.
This is where it links up. This is a V or whatever. You gotta run it through them a little bit, and guide them with it, and they start to understand what a serpentine is, and exhaust, and yeah, that's the cool stuff.
Yeah. So I think something all the viewers and listeners would want to know, because you've got some pretty rad cars. What's your daily driver? What gets you to and fro?
My daily driver is a 1996 SS Impala. Black, only made in black. Well, no, they made them in black. They made it a green, and they made it a dark red. Mine is black.
Man, those engines really changed.
Yeah.
Hot rodding, for sure.
Oh, for sure. When I got my Grand National, man, that really changed my mind on what a Jew body can do.
Oh yeah.
I've always had other SS, like a Monte SS 86, 87.
Yeah.
And those, it's a little slower.
Do you is your Grand National, is it all stock?
It is all stock. I bought it with 9,000 miles on it.
Oh wow.
T-tops. So I just haven't, I've been tempted to, add some goodies to the motor, but it's too fast for me already, just like that.
That is low miles, really low.
Yeah, I just broke 13,000.
Oh my goodness. So
I'm just breaking her in, but there's a lot of good things to do to those cars. Some of my friends just blacked out on the Grand Nationals and went, so dope on them.
They are fast. They're really fast. Yeah. I've got a T-type, a maroon T-type that I'm thinking about.
They're bad.
Oh yeah. It's higher miles. It's like 60,000 or something. So I was like, well, if I put a bigger turbo and start tuning, it's not a, very, very low mileage car. So maybe I won't get so much hate for it. But like I say, it's already a tire fire. The thing will get down. So
they get down as is. I imagine, so just open them up a little bit and yeah, they'll take flight. But my 96, I get more love in that than when I had the new S-Class,
Yeah.
Only people that care about those is usually other people with S-Classes. But when they see an Impala, people get fired up.
Well, I think technically now that's a classic.
It is on my classic car insurance.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, I remember when it was brand new, and now it is definitely classic.
Yeah. No, they're good. They're good cars. So you're extremely busy. We're sitting in the Turtle Wax booth right now. You got some products out in O'Reilly. How's that going for you? Good so far?
It's going incredible, yes. It's been a great relationship. I started off detailing cars with my dad. He would buy and sell cars. He would get a little bucket, and he goes, look, son, I'm about to do a $2,000 cleanup right now. And he would detail the car, and he'd make more on the sale.
There you go.
Because he'd have the tire shine on, the interior. Even though it was an older car, he would shampoo the carpet. He would condition the seats, wipe that dash down. He would go through the motor and detail and spray little things. But he would really take his time, and that's where I learned the obsession and the detail factor. And he brushed out the old can of Turtle Wax and showed me how to wax on, wipe off. And that was what started it right there. And then once I started doing mural and clearing these cars and wet sand and polish the car, I had to maintain it.
Right.
So I started, of course, using different products to do it. And I was raised basically with Turtle Wax.
There you go. So it's a root product for you. I mean, you remember it from a kid, and you're still using it today. Well, you got your own line today.
Yeah.
So
that was one of the real factors in me really wanting to do it, is sticking to products I already use.
Right. Did you do the artwork on all the bottles and all the stuff?
I did. That's what kind of separates us, is me growing up in car shows and learning custom culture. I take that same energy and I put it on the labels. All the fonts are hand done. We're putting little characters on there that wouldn't normally be on these bottles. The color, we're disrupting an industry that's been a certain way.
Right.
And even the product on the inside, we're doing different things with it to contribute to the movement and problem solve a little bit and find some solutions for some of these guys. We wanted to introduce a tire cleaner that works on white walls and makes them super bright and lifts the dirt off, because we're all about bright white walls.
Right. Yeah.
And other products like, the air care, going and really making your car smell fresh, putting artwork in there, doing these crazy foggers
Yeah.
that deodorize the inside of your car. Technology is getting crazy.
That's awesome. I'm glad that it's working out great for you. I just saw it in a display yesterday. I went in to get some parts and right there in front of the door. I was like, man, I'm proud of that guy. That's great, man.
Thank you, bro.
So what else? It's new year here. We're fresh off. We got any big plans this year? What's coming next?
Yeah, there's big plans. I'm working on different projects. I was just in Austin, Texas. We're kind of going over. We have a studio in Austin. And we were just going over the 24, 25, planning it out. The stuff you see coming out is usually done months prior.
Wow, so you've got a big forecast. You're looking way ahead trying to...
Yes, and because most of this is all hand done.
Yeah.
And even though I have a team, I still have to sit down and draw everything. So
right.
We have to plan ahead, but we have exciting things coming out. Even with the product, I have a tire coat coming out, a metal polish, a spray wax, or turtle wax, and then a spray wax. So we take it real serious, and
do you sleep?
We love it. Yeah, I've been getting some good hours in there, but the team helps a lot.
Yeah, there you go. I mean,
my wife's there.
You got to have friends and family,
yeah,
to help and support you. And it's just no one could go alone. So I'm glad you got the support there.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to chat about or talk about? Do you have a website or something we can push people to?
Yeah. If you want to look at my art on social media, it's Mr. C-Tunes.
Okay.
And I spell the Mr. out. You just put Mr. Cartoon, it'll come up.
It'll pop up, yeah.
But on there, I little glimpses of stuff from the past and stuff I'm working on for the future. You can always see our events. I recently did an art show where I did a solo art show in Hollywood. And I was able to take some of my canvases, my metal canvases, and put them in a gallery.
Oh, wow.
So it's getting sheet metal and shaping it like you would hammer a tank.
Yep.
It's using the same tools and making this teardrop canvas that vibes like a hood of a car, but it's not a hood of a car because it fits flush on a wall. And laying some candy down and muraling it with the same attitude as I would do a car. And we put them in this gallery.
That's amazing.
Yeah, on the streets, so you can check that out.
So you're always traveling, doing events too, and all that stuff, huh?
Yes, I'm not tattooing as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But we're going to Tokyo this year with their extra car crazing in Tokyo.
Jeez.
Different places. The product's coming out in Canada, Mexico, Australia. All these places, they go crazy.
So do you think that helps you or gives you kind of... I don't want to say advantage, but a better vision when you're able to travel like this and see all these different cultures? Are you able to bring some of this home with you and say, hey, I can come up with something fresh or new or different or...
Yes.
Or,
It's inspiring when you go to Japan, you even get inspired. You see their approach to car culture. When you come home, you go crazy. So... going to these different places and seeing the similarities and seeing the differences and tripping out and watching it all go down and seeing different tastes and trying to make different people from different parts of the world identify and feel a part of it and feel your heart and your passion for the culture.
I think that's what's really cool about, for me personally, there's two things for me is music and artwork. And I think it's a universal language. You don't even have to speak. You can look at a piece and you can feel it. You can understand it, or you can hear music, and it doesn't even have to have words. You can just feel how it was composed, how it was written, and what it was meant to be. And I just think that's cool that even though the world is so vast, we have all these different cultures, that things like this bring us all together.
Oh, for sure.
That's really cool.
And just here in the States, you know what I mean? Just traveling to a different place, different car shows, different type of events and trying to push the culture forward. And, one of the things I got to give credit to O'Reilly's is really believing in this product and jumping on it from the get.
Yeah.
Corey and Sean just really saw the vision and stood up and got behind it. And, we're grateful to be in the store. Right up front, we did some cool commercials. I'm here to talk to the managers and assistant managers. I want to have them pick my brain. I want to pick their brain. And a lot of it is really education on what we're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Joining custom car culture in with car care and bringing music into it, because music inspires everything that I do. When I get in my car, I have my little soundtrack for where I'm going to go roll. If I'm in my father's 59 El Camino, I'm going to put on the Pretenders. I'm going to put on some Led Zeppelin in there. Yeah. You know what I mean? When I'm in my Lowrider, I'm going to have the oldies on. When I'm in my Grand National, I'm going to put on some funk. So I have a different emotion for each different. When I'm in the 1930s car, I'm putting an old school doo-wop on.
There you go.
So barbershop doo-wop.
I'm the same exact way. It's funny. It's like, you almost feel like you're absorbed into the era with these vehicles. You know what I mean?
Yes. I want to try, what were they like back in the day?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Do you listen to vinyl records by chance?
Yeah, I'm a big vinyl collector. As you can see, there's some vinyl in my tattoo shop that stacked right there. That's Gene Chandler and One Way, which is that old school funk. And my wife is a huge collector. We have a page online called Soul Sundays. And Sundays is spelled like an ice cream sundae. And every week we drop vinyl on there and play everything from classic soul to new wave, to disco, like disco soul.
How many do you think you have? How many vinyls?
We have crates of vinyl,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's something it's a constant process. When we're in Japan, we're in the vinyl stores. Just here in Dallas and in Austin, I was seeing places that had comics and vinyl. Yeah. Vinyl's at an all-time high. People really, I think, respect and understand the old school methods. I mean, I have an 8-track player in one of my cars.
Yeah.
So I collect 8-tracks too. Yeah. Cassettes. We have collection CD books.
I love all that stuff. Like you say, vinyl and 8-track. I mean, people literally cutting tape together to make these sounds, and all of the work that went into creating that sound is incredible. And speaking of sound, to me, you throw a vinyl on.
Yeah.
I love that sound. It's
the scratchiness.
The scratchy. It's a little more mono. You don't quite get that stereo feel, but it for me, it just transports me or teleports me to whatever I'm listening to, whether it's 70s or 60s or 50s or whatever it may be. It's fun.
Yeah, and you're supporting the artist, and there's something about it. There's something definitely special about vinyl. That's why it's so popular. I think people, they just get it. We even have old school Technique 1200. Even the players got to be old school.
Right. Yeah. That's where I'm lacking. I got a fairly newer player, but I got to get something old. Well, I think that's going to do. We're hustling and bustling around here. We're at the conference. People are getting set up. We're going to get ready to get fired up here pretty soon. Big thank you for taking the time, coming out, telling us about your story, your history, and your love of the culture. And it's just been really fascinating for me and quite a pleasure. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you so much. Stay tuned. Another episode coming very soon.